Hello, in this video, I want to go through all of the cards that I would include if I was going to make a Toph the First Metalbender Commander deck. Now, this Naya Commander says non-token artifacts you control are lands in addition to their other types. And at the beginning of your end step, Earthbend 2. So our artifacts become lands that we can put counters on or any of the effects that care about those lands, and we can Earthbend onto our artifacts. It also Earthbending onto our lands that have activated abilities we might want to take advantage of. They would die or exile, they return to play. So Terra Symbiosis is 2 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, you may draw that many cards. Do this only once each turn. So at a bare minimum, at the beginning of each of our end steps, we Earthbend 2, put 2 +1/+1 counters on a land and make it a creature. We would draw 2 cards. I also learned that Terra Symbiosis, you can choose when you want the ability to happen. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you put 1 +1/+1 counter on something, you can just say, I don't want to do it because the May ability. And then later, whenever you Earthbend 4 or something, you could draw 4 cards. So, Terra Eternal, 2 and a white. All lands are indestructible. Now all of your artifacts are indestructible. All of your land creatures are indestructible. Just tons of possibility. Amulet of Vigor, 1 mana for an artifact. Whenever a permanent enters the battlefield tapped under your control, untap it. So whenever you Earthbend, when the land dies or is exiled, you return to the battlefield tapped. This can have it come into play untapped. And then if you have like a Strip Mine, Strip Mine is a creature now. You tap it, destroy a land. Amulet of Vigor puts it back into play. You gotta make it an Earthbound creature again, but the Stasis Coffin, 3 mana, legendary artifact, 2 tap, exile it. You gain protection from everything until your next turn. So at the beginning of your end step, you make this into a Earthbended creature. You pay 2 to tap, exile it. You gain protection from everything until your next turn. The Earthbended creature comes back into play, tapped under your control. It's not a creature anymore, but the artifact comes back into play because the artifact is a land. You use the ability. It goes into exile. Earthbend says, oh, it's exiled, returns into play tapped. So now you can, as many times as you can keep it alive, the Stasis Coffin can give you protection from everything. The Ozolith is 1 colorless for a legendary artifact. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on this artifact. As being of common in your turn, if it has counters on it, you remove all counters from it on this target creature. So not only does this hold on to all those ++ encounters that your deck is going to introduce into the game, just from doing Earthbending things or Catholic Crusade or any kind of other effects. The Ozolith can also wear those counters once you make it into an Earthbend creature. So if over the course of the game, this thing has had 6, 7, 8 counters on it, it becomes a 0/0 creature, you Earthbend 2. Now it has 8, 9, 10. It's an 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10. With haste, which is pretty good. Toph, Greatest Earthbender for 2 and a red and a green. It's a 3/3. When it enters, Earthbend X for X is the amount of mana spent to caster. So typically only 4, but if it's your commander, it can be up to 6 or 8 or 10. Land creatures you control have double strike. That's why I like it in this deck. All of our 2/2s now have double strike. Anything else that was counters now just has double strike. Earth of Revelation for 3 white, white, white. It's a sorcery. This spell costs 3 less to cast if there are 10 or more non-land permanents on the battlefield, which really is not that hard to accomplish in a game of Commander with 4 players. Destroy all non-land permanents. So now all of your lands stay, all of your non-token artifacts stay, and all of your land creatures stay in play. And you destroy everything else. Annie joins up for 1, a red, a green, and a white. It enters, it deals 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker, and if a triggered ability of a legendary creature triggers, it triggers an additional time. And at the beginning of your end step, Earthbend 2 is a triggered ability, so you'd get that twice each time, and any of our other Toph creatures or anything else that triggers would also trigger. All Fates scroll 3 colors for an artifact, taps for 1 mana of any color. You can pay 7 and sack it to draw X cards, where X is a number of differently named lands you control. And then you can sacrifice it, and if it was an Earthbended creature, because it's an artifact, it's a land, it comes back into play tapped, so you can do it the next turn. And you're playing 3 colors, you're going to have a lot of different named lands. You're going to have a lot if you play, the check lands and the fetch lands and the triomes. Not the different fetch lands are going to stay in play, but Arcane Signet, 2 colorless for an artifact, adds a mana of any color. Usually don't include these in videos, but this, of course, is a land. So now you can Earthbend onto it. So it's better than just a normal Arcane Signet in your deck. Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, for 3 green, green. It's an XX. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. And non-token creatures are forest lands and other types. But really, all of your lands and all of your non-token artifacts make this creature's power and toughness huge, which can really win games. Avatar, Kyoshi, Earthbender, 5, green, green, green. During your turn, it has hexproof. It's a 6/6. At the beginning of combat on your turn, Earthbend 8, then untap that land. So if we're trying to introduce more Earthbending into the game, the Avatar Kyoshi is a card that I would play. Avenger of Zendikar. 5 green, 5/5. When this creature enters, create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. And when a land you control enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on each plant creature you control. Whenever your lands, so all of your artifact count as landfall triggers. So there's going to be a lot of landfall triggers in this deck list. Additionally, every single time one of your Earthbend creatures died, it's a land, it comes back into play and will trigger your landfall again. That's why landfall is so good here. Badger, Mole, Cub, 1 green for a 2/2. When the creature enters Earthbend 1, whenever you tap a creature for mana, add additional green. So your Llanowar Alpha effects get better, not that I don't think we're playing in this deck, but all of your Earthbend creatures tap for an additional green. Bootlegger's Stash, lands you control have tap, create a treasure token. So now all of your lands and all of your non-token artifacts tap to make a treasure token. Bright Glass Gearhulk, green, white for a 4/4, first strike trample. When this creature enters, you may search your library for up to 2 target artifact, creature, or enchantment cards with mana value 1 or less, reveal them, put them into your hand, to shuffle. So you can go get a Soul Ring, but you can really go get Amulet of Vigor. The one that makes tap things come and play untap. That's the main card I'm going to get with that. Boomy, Eccentric Earthbender, 3 green, 4/4. When it enters Earthbend 1, whenever it attacks, you put 2+1 counters on each land creature you control. Unleashed, 3 red and a green for a 5/4 trample. When it enters Earthbend 4, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, untap all lands you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Only land creatures can attack during that combat phase. So now you can make something into Earthbend 4. One of your artifacts can be a 4/4. It's a 5/4 trample. And every single time it does combat damage, and it has trample, you get an additional turn where only additional combat where only lands can attack. But still good. Chromatic Lantern gives all lands tap, add 1 mana of any color. Now all of your non-token artifacts do the same, which is nice. Crop Rotation, sack a land, search library for any land. I think you can just go sacrifice one of your artifacts, and then that's okay. Cultivate, get yourself 2 basic lands. Especially if you're in a landfall deck, you need lands. Dryad of the Illusion Grove, lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. Now all of your non-token artifacts, Toph says they don't gain the ability to tap for mana, but they gain the ability to tap for mana, and you may play an eternal land on each of your turns. Earth Rumble, Earthbend 2, when you do, up to 1 target creature you control, fights target creature an opponent controls. So now you have a fight spell on and on theme card, because you can Earthbend one of your artifacts, and then have something else fight something else. Earthbending Student for 2 and a green, it's a 1/3. When it enters Earthbend 2, land creatures you control have vigilance. So now, you can attack with them and tap them for mana, like post-combat. You can all your Earthbended lands you can attack with, tap for mana. Your non-token artifacts, the same thing. Esper Sentinel, it is an artifact, so this would be an artifact land creature. So you can Earthbend onto it and up its power that way. So now if you Earthbend 2 onto this, whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X. So X would be 1, X would be 3. Decent amount of possibilities there. Evolution Siege, whenever a land you control enters battlefield under your control, proliferate. Again, all of your non-token artifacts, all of your lands that come back into play, all of your lands you just play for turns, proliferate all the +1/+1 counters that Earthbending is putting on things. Felidar Retreat, when a land enters, you would make a 2/2, but what I like is put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. Harrow, sack a land to get 2 basic land cards, put them into battlefields. You can sacrifice like a Soul Ring. You're not going to sacrifice Soul Ring. You can sacrifice an artifact you don't need anymore, and then it can come back into play. If you sacrifice a land that is Earthbended, then it comes back with the other 2 lands, and it has 3 landfall triggers. Ichor Wellspring, 2 colors on an artifact when it enters, or Earthbend 2 character from the battlefield, draw a card. This is a great card to die to removal, to block with, because it draws when it enters, it draws when it dies, and if it's Earthbended, when it re-enters with Earthbend, you would draw another card. Inventor's Share, we're going to have a ton of artifacts, and we'll be able to search for artifact cards, whichever artifacts we need. Lightning Greaves and Zephyr Boots. Protecting our commander, I think, is really important. As soon as she dies, all of our artifacts are no longer lands, and giving it or any of our other Earthbend creatures protection is good too. Plus, there are plenty of creatures in this deck that we want to haste. Local Mental Torque, 2 colorless, tap for a colorless tap, target non-land permanent becomes an artifact, which means it becomes a land. Lotus Cobra, 2 mana, landfall, 2/1. When a land enters, add 1 mana of any color. Lotus Petal, sacks for 1, adds 1 mana of any sack to add 1 mana of any color, but if you Earthbend onto it, then it comes back and you just continuously get an extra Lotus Petal. Mishra's Bauble, tap, sack it, look top card of player's library, draw a card, read end step. So every turn, if you have nothing else better to do, essentially, you can just Earthbend onto this and then sack it. Morag, Fury of Occam. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it attack this turn. It's a 6/6 with Landfall, and it gives you additional combat phases, which is fantastic. We have a lot of artifacts and lands moving around, which just literally says, oh, you play an artifact, you get an extra combat phase, which is great in this deck. Matsopal, 0 colorless, add 1 mana of any color, active ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts. Microsense Lattice, all permanents are artifacts. All cards that aren't on the battlefield are colorless. Players may spend mana as a mana of any color. So now everything is an artifact, everything is a land. You can Earthbend on everything. Everything is metal bendable. Prismatic Omen, I like this card a lot in this deck. For green, they want it's an enchantment. Lands you control are every basic land type in addition to the other types. So now all of your artifacts do tap for mana. Thabatender, 1 and a red. It's a 2/1 with reach. When a land enters, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. You can really get the board down that way. Scroot Swarm, 2 and a green. It's a 1/1 landfall. When a land you control enters, it creates a 1/1 insect. But if you control 6 or more lands, you create a token that's a copy of Scroot Swarm instead. Soul Ring, this fantastic card here, but you can also Earthbend onto it, sorry. Solemn Simulacrum, 4 colors for a 2/2. When it enters, you may search library for a basic land card, put into play, tap, then shuffle. When it dies, you draw a card. This is a great card. It enters, gives you 2 landfall triggers. It's a land you can Earthbend onto. Whenever that Earthbended creature dies, you draw a card, and it comes back into play, which charges for another basic land card. So that's really nice. Sylvan Safekeeper is a way to sacrifice our lands if you don't have one. So if you have an artifact that you want to die to something, and you can't sacrifice it to itself, you could sacrifice the artifact or the land to this, and have it re-enter the battlefield. Talisman of Impulse. Again, it's just so interesting that these mana rocks are just even better in this deck. Tanuki Memorial Ensign. Landfall. When a land you control enters, it deals 1 damage to your opponent. If it is the second time ability, if you draw this turn, draw a card. I think you're going to trigger this twice almost every turn. The Earth Crystal, green spells cost 1 less. If you would put 1 or more counters, put twice that many. So that's not Earthbending 4, and you can pay 6 to distribute counters if you have extra mana laying around. But the ability to double the amount of Earthbending that you're doing, it's fantastic. The One Ring is indestructible, so if you Earthbend onto it, now you have an indestructible creature, and then it does all the things the One Ring does. It's Tireless Provisioner, when a land enters, it makes a treasure or food. Now those don't become lands because they're tokens, but still fantastic to be ramping with all of your lands moving around. Toph Earthbending Master, 3 and a green. It's a 2/4 landfall. When a land enters, you get an experience counter. Whenever you attack Earthbend X, where X is the number of experience counters you have. So every single time, literally now on your end stuff and on your attack phase, you're getting to Earthbend. Toph the Blind Bandit, when it enters Earthbend 2, its power is equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on the lands you control. So now all of your doubling effects, all of your Captive Crusade effects, just making the power of this creature very big. It's a great card to have fight stains. Valakut Exploration for 2 and a red. It's an enchantment. When a land enters under your control, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. At the beginning of your end step, if there are cards exiled with it, put them onto their owner's graveyard, and then it deals damage equal to that many cards to each opponent. So you get access to more card draw, which is great. You're not playing blue. Get access to more cards. It's on theme. It's good. Ren and the Realm Breaker. 1 green, 4 loyalty. Lands you control are tap, add 1 mana of any color. So now all of your artifacts are lands that tap for mana. +1 on up to 1 target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with vigilance, hexproof, and haste until your next turn. Still land. -2, mill 3, put a permanent card into your hand. -7, you can emblem with, you may play lands and cast priority spells from your graveyard. I really want to get it up to that 7. So now if any of your artifacts die, or your lands die, you can play them from your graveyard. Plus being able to make little lands into creatures is good. Zoran Herb is another way to have a sacrifice outlet for if you want to trigger re-enter the battlefield abilities. Secret Tunnel, the land can't be blocked. Earthbend onto it, and now that Earthbended creature can't be blocked. Darksteel Sentinel's indestructible. Earthbend onto it, now it's indestructible too. A little suspicious to be putting colorless lands in a 3-color deck, but you're playing green. I think you're able to support this. And then Strip Mine adds 1 mana to your mana pool, tap, sack it, destroy target land. Those are all the cards that I would include if I was going to build a Toph the First Metalbender commander deck focused on landfall and enter the battlefield of artifacts and lands. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you have a good rest of your day and may your top decks be ever in your favor. Thank you.